And had some things come up yesterday, so couldn't do Role-Playing 101 like normal. So we're trying to get some catch-up in today, because we did have quite a few topics that we covered and that we wanted to go over. Because as we play in more games and as we spend more time in more communities, we just see that certain things are sort of a problem. And the first thing is, even though we've covered this a couple times, power gaming. Power gaming specifically seems to be a real issue, and I didn't realize to what extent, because it's been so long since I've been in the mainstream side of gaming, and now that I'm putting my hat back into the arena, so to speak, I'm realizing that Phantom's quite correct. There's a lot of power gaming going on, and there's a lot of people that seem to think this is the normal way to go about role-playing, and that used to be the rarity back in the day. Now, it's a little weird to me that this has become the new way of doing things, because it reminds me very much of video gaming. Old games like Diablo, or now Path of Exiles, where you're running around, you're killing a bunch of stuff, you're leveling up, you're getting a bunch of cool spells, a bunch of cool skill trees that you're unlocking, and just all sorts of interesting stuff like that. And that's great for a video game, but when you try to transfer that into a role-playing game, it almost becomes arduous, because what you're going to wind up spending most of your time doing is rolling dice, counting numbers, and just calculating, and that's going to make combat take a lot of time. Not that I don't mind combat-heavy systems, but if you're trying to do what Diablo's doing in a role-playing game, the amount of math would break my mind. Because after a while, your character's getting into the hundreds of levels, and the amount of damage you would be doing would be just ridiculous. I wouldn't even know how to calculate it. That's what computers are for. That's why I always recommend the keeping numbers low for role-playing games, because then it's easier for everyone to keep track. It's just easier for everyone to keep track. But even in the respective general power gaming, just people whose only goal is to enter a game and look for exploits, because those people exist on both sides of the fence, whether you're a video gamer or a role player. Those people are always going to exist, but why they're suddenly taking on a very... I don't know if it's normal or if it's more of a tolerated role. Like, people are trying to roll... Yeah, I don't get it, Phantom, I really don't. That's a good question. I ask myself that question all the time. I wish I had an answer. I think some people just want to feel like they outsmarted something, which to an extent I understand, but if you're making everyone else around the table miserable, you need to rethink what you're doing. If what you're doing is causing everyone else to not have fun, then, maybe it's time to rethink this whole avenue of thought. But anyway, power gaming becoming and metagaming becoming a little more mainstream, and people trying to tolerate it. And so they're giving out these pieces of advice that's very strange to me. Oh yeah, people who get angry when they can't exploit a game system. That too, that's another new conundrum I'm trying to wrap my head around. Because some systems just can't be exploited. There's no way to really do that. They're either too simple, or they're just not built the way necessarily other games are, and so you can't really exploit them. Freeform game systems especially. Freeform. We have a whole thing on freeform we'll touch on eventually, but for now let's stay on power gaming and people who power game. And these bits of advice that Phantom's been telling me that people get, people say things like, just have the power gamers help the new players. That makes absolutely no sense to me. No, my answer to that is no. You know why this doesn't work? Because not everyone in the world is a power gamer. Some of us just want to have fun. play a concept we find interesting, find ways past the obstacles that soothe both the character and party. I will not, nor will I ever suggest any other player should bow to the whims of a power gamer. That's really ridiculous to me. That's like saying every person is just here to gain as much EXP as possible, and if that's why you're role-playing, I feel like you should stop. If you're just here to gain EXP, that means you're not going to absorb any of the actual storytelling. And the basis of storytelling is to teach. So if you're not learning anything, if you're just here to gain EXP, like I said, there's easier ways to go about that. There's video games, you know, and they do all the math for you, and nobody has to be involved with it. Otherwise, I hear about a lot of arguments. People arguing for all sorts of reasons when they do play in these games, these combat-heavy games. Then they get mad that their character isn't as cool as they thought it would be, even though they did everything they could to metagame. Yeah, exactly. That's the issue. You have the people who are trying to be lawyers about the rules and people who are exploiting it, and that's always going to cause chasms at the table. You know, and honestly, I don't like either side of it, you know? I don't like people who are gripping the rulebook too hard. I don't like people who are over there exploiting the rules. I want someone right in the middle, you know? Just right in the middle. Like, yes, the rules are important, but certain things we can change to suit whatever we want to do. And while I don't want people looking for exploits, I do want them asking questions, you know, and inquiring as to the sorts of things that they can do, because I'm happy to help. As I've said many times, I'm happy to help. People just refuse to ask questions for some reason. Let's see. One of the other things that Phantom said people say is power gaming is not actually a problem. Okay. Really? Because this is why I regularly see GMs complain about unruly players they can't control. This is why I know players who leave groups because they're dominated by power gamers who don't know what storytelling is. No, this is a problem. The fact other gamers are just shuffling under the rug is kind of as bad as anyone shuffling sexual harassment under the rug, in my opinion. There's no reason to suffer someone else's idea of what storytelling is. There's no reason to listen to people who constantly tell you how your character should be played, which is something you should never do, by the way. Don't ever tell somebody how to play their character. You don't know their character. You probably think as a metagamer you know what they should do, but what they're trying to do is roleplay, which they're trying to take on a role. They're trying to actually play their character, which means if their character would, in that situation, make a mistake, they're going to let that character make a mistake. Perfect example of that is I had a character that was about to achieve everything that he wanted in his dreams, and so instead of taking what I'd won and running, I decided, well, my character's really a narcissistic piece of shit, so I think this is the moment he'd monologue. And so I monologued, and because I monologued, someone was able to steal the item that I was holding, and I lost most of my power. And I was like, yep, that's what you get for monologuing. That's, you know, I knew something like that was going to happen, but I also knew my character was narcissistic, and he was the sort of person that once he had it in his hand, he was going to just brag to everyone. So, you know, some of us just want to roleplay. We're not here to be cool. We're not here to be the best. We're here to play a character. You know, and in that role I was playing a narcissist, and I feel like I played it well. So yeah, I don't like it when other people tell you how to play your character. I feel that's really invasive, it's really rude, it's just discourteous, you know? Don't do it. Don't do it. Now if someone asks you, if someone is asking for help, like what should I do in this situation, by all means give them advice. They have opened the door. Wide open. That's now you've got clearance to say whatever you want. You know, I still don't encourage you to be rude, but but you can at least give them advice. Just yeah, don't force your playstyle down someone else's throat is really the moral here. Like that's the big thing. Don't tell them how to play. You know. Just don't. But yeah, no, it definitely is. It definitely is. I see it all the time. I see people complain all the time, and the thing that cracks me up is when I see people complain, I'll see other people jump down their throat and give them a hard time about it. And even if their complaints are really gentle and courteous, and it's because someone else literally asked them their opinion, they will get flamed for their opinion for saying that, you know, they just generally dislike something, which I've seen a lot of people say they just generally dislike 5e, because a lot of those games boil down into fighting, or they just don't go anywhere. Like, after the first session, it all falls apart. And that's always interesting for me to hear whenever I hear that from someone. And but then to see people just immediately jump down their throats about it, I'm just like, all right. So people just aren't allowed to voice their opinions. I don't know. I just don't think any of that's okay. I don't know if that really falls under power game or anything. I think that's just bullying and gaming, just in general. But still, back to power gaming. There was one last thing that Phantom told me, and that power gamers will tell you. They'll tell you, you should power game too. Yeah, again, no. Okay. Once again, we're not power gamers, and in certain instances, like Phantom's instance, you might, force them to be a healer. And then you get mad when you keep dying over and over again. They keep trying to keep you alive. But, there's only so much you can do when you guys think you can keep running out there, and you somehow think your healer's, like, never going to run out of MP, or never run out of supplies, or never not make a roll. Like, that's somehow their fault? I don't know. That's really weird. That's really weird. It's a little hard to power game a healer. I don't know if you guys know that. So, if you don't know how party mechanics work, I don't think that's really gonna work to give people that advice. I wish it did work, but I've honestly never seen that go over well. The healer always gets tired of being abused, either, or getting used as just basically a mobile healing station. They never really get to do anything, or say anything. And why would anyone want to be that character? So I don't blame people for not wanting to play healers. Not with the way that things are, especially in a group of power gamers. Yeah, exactly. Because that's what you wind up. You wind up a heal bot, and that's all you're doing. And yay. That's definitely not what I'm there for, And again, my question to this is, why is the GM or the DM not making NPC healers? And then Phantom pointed out, because they're abusing them too, and the NPCs stop wanting to help them. I'm like, all right, fair point. I can't argue that logic. I see it all the time, even in my own games. Even when the NPCs aren't healers, they disregard what the NPCs say. They don't show them any respect, or they just don't give a shit about them at all. And then they wonder why the NPCs don't want to help them later. Really? Really? You're wondering why they don't want to help you? Something makes me think that in your life, you don't have a lot of friends. Because this is how you treat NPCs. You just expect them to do these things for you? Exactly. It's exactly how I feel about it. Okay, here's another interesting topic, because I didn't realize this was a thing, okay, but Phantom's been telling me about it, and okay, so I did realize it was a thing, but it, was never this bad, but now it's like the world is taking this weird shift, and it's just so weird to me. Human superiority in fantasy games. Like I said, I don't normally encounter this, but my co-host Phantom has seen it time and time again. And finally I'm running this one-shot where I encounter a live human supremacist. And I'm exaggerating, obviously. But But they were just wondering why a certain race got like a +1 or +2 bonus, and to certain stats, and humans get a +1 to any stat, and they were wondering why these other races hadn't taken over the world. And yeah, which is exactly why I was confused. I was like, this is pretty normal. There's nothing like abnormal about this. But but so I'm like, yeah, why haven't they taken over the world? I'm like, wait, why haven't they taken over the world? I'm like, because bureaucracy and corruption still exist. I don't see those as purely human concepts. I never will. I believe if you're a sapient species and you can now think as we do, you are probably just as corrupt and just as foolish as we are. And therefore, progress gets stymied in bureaucracy and corruption. Those are your two problems with society, you know? So yeah, what makes the humans so special, especially in a fantasy world, when you have dragons, were creatures, shapeshifters, you know, just slews of things, griffins, you know, whatever, naga, even goblins and lizardmen, they all have bonuses in something. And they're all usually really good at something. Humans usually are versatile. That's always been the thing. Like, since D&D, since freaking Final Fantasy 11 Online, like, you could play any other race, and yeah, you would excel at certain classes, but the humans were the ones that you could play any class. You know? And so you could do well in any class. You're not going to be like a master. Like, you know, say like an elven mage. You know, an elven mage is always going to trump a human mage, in my opinion. They're a phase species, you know, they're naturally magical. Humans, to me, are not naturally magical. What we are is naturally tenacious. We do have this weird want to survive. Exactly. But yeah, humans have this weird want to survive, so that's usually something I give to them, is they have tenacity in their favor, on top of their versatility. But other than that, I don't really see a whole lot of benefits in the human race when you compare them to other fantasy races that get clear bonuses and things like spellcasting, awareness, you know, perception, and all that nonsense. Just natural bonuses, like things like fur to keep them warm in cold weather, claws to help them climb, you know, or spinnerets, the ability to create webbing, you know, like these are all really useful traits, you know, or even the hard skin of a greenskin or a giant, you know, things that blades can't normally penetrate. Like, I'm sorry, this makes these things tougher than a human. Like, to me, the human is a squishy pink thing. You know, yeah, it's great that they can do whatever they want. They can literally be any job, any occupation. They can go anywhere in the world and learn to survive. Very versatile race. Obviously, other races can't do that. If you have heavy fur and you live in the snow, being in the desert's going to really bum you out. It might even kill you, you know? So, you know, there are backdraws to these things. It's not like they're just strong and have, you know, no weaknesses. No, they have weaknesses too. It just so happens that, you know, like I said, humans are pretty squishy. They just are by nature pretty squishy. But if you want something versatile, then play a human. That's totally the way to go. But if you want to specialize in something like a warrior, I always suggest bigger races. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why people don't get it, because it's been shown over and over again in many a horror movie, or like, you know, aliens. Like, we are not tough. We're not tough at all. Other creatures from other planets would just absolutely decimate us. We are not hardcore. We don't have, you know, a chitinous hide to protect us. We don't have acid for blood. You know, we don't have natural camouflage like a predator. You know, we're not as strong as a grizzly bear. You know, these are just things humans are not, you know, and other things are. So, yeah, the whole human squishy thing. I don't understand why people don't understand that. I don't understand why they don't understand. You know, it's just mutual confusion. So that was fun. That was fun to encounter that for the first time and me have to go, I'm like, wait, but these bonuses aren't any different. Never mind. I'll do my best to explain. Okay. So apparently, there's this huge chasm between dice systems and freeform. I didn't realize how much of an issue this was until I started running freeform games again after maybe, 15 years of sitting in silence and just not doing anything. So imagine my culture shock when I come back and, nobody knows what freeform is. Like, nobody. The occasional few do know, I will admit. I meet fiction writers who are true role players from an older era where literacy and storytelling were prized, when the average role player had at least, an intermediate handle on vocabulary, which made it a lot easier to communicate with your fellow writers. I don't know why folks are so hung up on definitions and not realizing they're using terminology wrong and wondering why people don't take kindly to their words, You'd think they'd realize vocabulary plays a huge part in communicating. Because the more terminology you understand, the easier it is for anyone, and I mean anyone, to understand what you're trying to say. And this is, in freeform, this is just so important because there's so many times, even in dice games, exactly, because vocabulary makes you sound elitist, apparently, and it has nothing to do with elitism. Yeah, and people like to define their own words, and that's the problem. They use a word the way they think it's meant to be used, and then they don't explain to anyone that this is how they're using the word and that's what they mean by it, because then the rest of us know the actual traditional definition of that word, and so we're confused by what they're trying to say. You cannot redefine your own words, not without warning people. It's fine. You want to redefine something? Go for it. That's cool. It turns into slang that way. It becomes new terminology. But you need to tell people. They can't read your mind. I have such a hard time trying to communicate with people sometimes because they use words, and then I'll ask them, I'm like, are you sure you're using that word properly? And sometimes they're like, yes, I am sure. And then come to find out later in the conversation, no, they didn't. So, I get a little frustrated when I have to have this whole conversation that didn't need to actually occur because they could have just said yes, they didn't know what that word meant, and then I could have told them what it meant. It would have been that simple. It never is. But yes, vocabulary is important because once someone understands you, if you were having an argument, you're no longer having an argument. You're having a discussion. Because now what you've said has clicked in someone else's head, a wave of understanding based on people's ability to decipher language. It's without an understanding of vocabulary, a person lives on the outskirts of understanding. You're pretty much in a realm of constant confusion based on one's own ignorance. And I've seen it happen so many times. People think other people are trying to insult them, or they'll smile when people are insulting them, and it's all because they don't know vocabulary, and they don't understand what this person is saying. And it's just so much confusion, and so much definition confusion, so much loss of vocabulary meaning. A little reading and a little effort goes a long way. It's really hard for me when I read a person's sentence and I have no idea what they're trying to say to me. Like, none. Like, I know they're an English speaker, I know they speak English perfectly fine, but they have structured their sentence in a way that I literally have to sit here and decode it. Because it makes no sense to me. And then I try to explain to people, and they're like, "You're using words that are too big." And I'm like, "Okay, all right. I do have synonyms for you. I can start listing synonyms. I just don't know what's going to click for you." So it's a little challenging as a GM. I just would like it if people worked a little harder on knowing their vocabulary, because then it would make the freeform arena so much easier. It would make this chasm that does exist between the dice systems and the freeform systems, it would make it smaller. Because if we could all understand each other, then there wouldn't be all this confusion of, well, why did this happen? Why didn't this happen? Why did this? In freeform, the biggest thing is, if you ask me after the fact, I can't help you. If you're going to ask me all of the questions once your character's already been killed, I can give you the answers, I can tell you, but it does you no good now. You could have asked me those questions when your character was facing those perils, when they were stuck in that original situation. If you would have asked me those questions then, I could have given you advice. I could have given you options, you know? I'm never going to tell you exactly how to win the scenario, but neither am I going to give you an idea that will get you killed. Okay, I would never do that. Because that's mean, okay? In a freeform environment, I'm here to help tell your story, not try and squash you every step of the way. That's not the point. If you want to know how to overcome a situation, just ask me. Just ask me. I can give you hints, you know? If you want to play the hint game, I can give you hints, you know? Or I can just give you options, and you can select which option you think is best. And like I said, I'll never tell you exactly 100% how to win the scenario the perfect way. You know, you have to come up with the perfect way on your own. But I will give you moderate ways to complete the task. You know, never gonna box you in. Never. People do that to themselves. That's when they make those actions and then get themselves into those situations and then refuse to ask any questions, act, get themselves killed. And then they want to ask me all the questions in the world, and I'm like, well, this is the reason, and by the end of it, they're always like, okay, all right, well, can I make a new character? And I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess so, you know, since you're being polite about it, and you seem to understand what I just told you. You know, sometimes being polite is really all it takes, you know. I just tell them what they shouldn't have done. You know, like, these were your other options. Sometimes they tell me, they're like, yeah, I thought of that. I should have done that instead. I'm like, yeah, I guess you should have, because your character's dead now. Oh, life goes on. People do like to box themselves in. I don't know why they do it. I don't know why they do it with character building. I don't know why they do it with actions. But they sure like to do it. They sure like to do it. Okay, here's another topic that's, that I've definitely noticed before. This is something I've definitely encountered, and Phantom's encountered it numerous times. And it's led me to believe that people think certain aspects of gaming is homework. Okay? Gaming is not homework. I don't know where this mindset came from, but if you see making a character sheet, tending that character sheet, and paying attention to the game itself as homework, it's time for you to stop role-playing. We're here to have fun, and those of us that know the system, well, we tend our sheets. We do what the GM asks, whenever or whatever that may be. Sometimes I ask players for an NPC their character knows personally. Never much, maybe a small paragraph about who they are and what they do, how your character knows them. My main groups have no problem with this. But other people act like making even a character for themselves is like me asking them to take home a worksheet packet. I really run the simplest games. I try to make things so streamlined, and people still wind up ghosting or complaining there's so much to keep track of. Well, go play a video game. A video game keeps track of all that stuff for you. In a tabletop RPG, you have to keep track of that stuff. That's just how it is. So, if you see this form of effort as homework or forced labor, just stop role-playing. You're wasting everyone's time. You just are. I don't know what to do with you. Yeah, making a character is not homework. I don't get it. I do not get it. If that's how you see it, if you think reading the setting and reading the basic rules when it's like literally no more than 2 word pages, you know, some of it lists, you know, so it's like not even a lot to read. Yeah, and that's homework for some reason. I don't know. I don't get it. Very strange. Yeah, that's something we've discovered. This is a working theory. On occasion, I'll have somebody, sneak a character in on the third day, or maybe like right before the session, but for the most part, if they don't have a character done in 48 hours, they ain't gonna get one. I can sit around and poke them and DM them and be like, hey, you gonna get your character done? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll get it done tonight. And then I won't hear from them for a week. And I'll be like, alright, hey bro, you got your character done yet? Oh yeah, I'll get it done tomorrow. And then another week goes by. And I'm like, you know what? So I just kick them. At that point, I just kick them out of the game because I'm not here to hold your hand. If you don't have time for the game, if you can't set time aside to make the character, if you see it as work, I can't help you. I just can't help you. I'm here to have fun. Me and Phantom are here to have fun. We enjoy writing characters. We enjoy doing all of this stuff. All this stuff. There's not one section of it I dislike. Seriously, even the map making, I enjoy all of it. So when someone acts like some aspect of it is just so hard to do, just stop. Just get out of my pastime. Get out of my hobby. Quit bumming me out with your dissatisfaction. I can't handle it. It's supposed to be fun. I don't get it. Well, that's that topic. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one. I forgot. This was one of the things I added at the last. Never understood this. People need to understand your character is an application, not an approval. Entitlement doesn't help you as a gamer, and it never will. Acting like you have a right to be in a game you're not running just makes the GM and other players not want to game with you, and you may find yourself suddenly kicked out of said group. Entitled gamers then whine and complain that the group they just tried to join must be biased or unfair, petty or self-serving, because, oh god, why on earth would they deny your god spawn of a character? Because you're an asshole. Alright? Plain and simple, no one wants to roleplay with you. The end. Alright? If you act like an entitled person, just no one's gonna want to be around you. Just the whining, the complaining, the arguing, nobody likes it. It breaks up so many groups. It's literally the leading cause of why groups wind up breaking up, because it causes the stupid infighting that is just so dumb, and all because of usually one person. One person needs to act entitled and needs to ruin it for everyone at the table, and I don't understand this logic. It's almost like the petty, selfish kid bullshit, well, it's my ball and I'm gonna go home and play by myself, so you guys, and just ruin the whole game for everybody. Oh my god, really? Seriously, that's all it takes. One entitled person. I would much rather have a loud, obnoxious person. Way more. Much rather have them than having the entitled person, because at least the loud, obnoxious person, they just want to tell stories and try to do everything, and they might talk over people once in a while, but usually you can shut them up by telling them they're being dumb. But the entitled person doesn't shut up. They just keep talking. And it never stops. Not even when the game's over. They'll keep bitching even after it, and they'll try to get some friend to agree with them. Oh, wasn't this totally messed up that this happened to the game? And eventually you're going to lose all your friends, because we get tired of hearing it, okay? We don't want to hear your shit. We just don't. We want to just have fun of the game. And you being upset about this one thing does not matter to us. Does not matter at all. Never did, never will. So get your entitlement out of here. Exactly. No. If they if they're gonna pull that crap, that would be the way to go about it. But you know what? They're entitled, and they'd be like, I can't believe you would charge money for doing something like running a game. Oh, really? You mean something that other people regularly do? That's strange to you? It's strange that an artist would want to get paid for his work. I don't see the correlation. I think this makes sense. I think it's great. I just wish there was more DMs and GMs and storytellers out there to fill the needs, or more people willing to actually spend the money, because I've met people on both sides. I've had people complain to me about games they didn't even have to pay to get into. No, it was the fact that you had to pay for an extra character. I'm like, what? Wait, so you haven't even spent a dime yet, and you want to complain? Okay, and so you have people like that, so... Really? Yeah, no. We should have. That's... I just can't believe it. I'm like, really? You're going to complain about this? I'm like, alright, if you're going to complain, then I'm just going to charge per session, because this is ridiculous. I'm not going to listen to your bullshit whining. Like, you're going to whine about something you're not even paying. That is so hilarious to me. And then I have the other people on the other side of the fence who are like, yeah, I pay GMs. I pay GMs because it's their time and it's important and it's not that much. Like, it's usually like $15 or something, you know, for like a few hours. You can't afford that? Really? I'm like, thank you. I wish more people like you existed. Because, I don't get why this sense of entitlement is just so rampant in these people that they think it's not worth it. I guess by that definition, you know, you should never pay an artist for anything. You know, they should just be giving you their art for free, all of it. You know, visual art, video games, music, you know, all that stuff. It should just be provided for free to the public, right? Because we don't need to eat or pay rent or anything. I don't get the logic. I really don't. Or the lack thereof, I guess, is what it is. Man, I don't know. But that really covers all the topics that we had written down for the moment. Yeah, books and resources cost money. Yes, they do. That's another thing I don't understand. We have to buy the books. It's cool, you know, when people have PDFs and they're willing to share. That's super, super cool, but that's not always the case. Especially when you're in a physical group and you're the GM, it's, generally speaking, you're the one who has the books. If someone else has, like, a player's guide, you're thanking them up and down, because then you have an extra one to go around the table that people can look at, because otherwise you got this one book going around the table, and man, it takes all night for everyone to make a freaking character. Not that it isn't fun, you know, but it is definitely an undertaking. And, you know, then there's all the other crap you use, depending, because you might use three-dimensional dungeon models, custom models, maps, exactly. You might buy map packs, or, you know, if you can download free ones, then that's awesome. Exactly, pawns, tokens, you know, any specialty dice, stuff like that. Yeah, all that stuff factors in. And it ain't cheap. You know, none of that stuff's cheap. I know. I've got some of it in some forms, and I've got other stuff I'm missing, but I used to have a ton of Warhammer, so we used to use those as stand-ins for a lot of the time. But the Warhammer train was really cool for that, because then it was easy to set up a map on the floor or on a table, you know. That was pretty cool. But yes, these things cost money. You know, or you make them, you know, spent time making all my terrain. And, you know, it ain't cheap. So it's really nice when people value the fact that we're going out of our way, you know, to do what we're doing. We're not, you know, it isn't like this is something that we're not putting any effort into, you know? No, there's effort going into this, you know? There's always effort going into this, and regardless if we're having fun or not. And it does. It definitely does. Even, like I said, even when I'm having fun, it still takes energy, because by the time I'm done with a session, and I've written everything down, I'm usually like, oh, I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to do anything else today. I'm just going to veg and melt my brain. Because a good 5 to 7 hour session is pretty arduous, and there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of notes to have. And I type all those notes up, you know. Sometimes I have to print stuff out and hand stuff out to people, especially because I have NPCs that people play, so I have to have their information and their stats ready to go. And, you know, it's just work. It's fun work, you know, don't get me wrong. But it's not fun when people act entitled. You know, once again, bringing it right around back to that topic. Just, because I'm sick of it. Sick of gamers acting entitled. I'm sick of people acting like I'm here to serve them when they have paid me no money. So, I don't understand why I'm supposed to bend over backwards for you. And I don't know why any other GM would. And I would never suggest that they do. Because if you have an entitled or even just a whiny player, there is no reason for you to cater to them. None. They're going to make other people uncomfortable. They're going to annoy other people. There's no reason for you to cater to them. Just none. And honestly, I just remove them from my games as quickly as possible. Because I don't need that kind of energy. I just don't need that kind of energy in my life. Exactly. And it spreads. It does. One person starts acting entitled, then, you know, that might trigger this whole wave of bullshit. And then again, then you gotta drop a whole group, you know? And it's like, great. You know, this was starting out great, and then, you know, one dude decides he doesn't like one thing, and here we are, an empty server. I'm gonna start over again. It is what it is. You learn from your mistakes, and it's fine to learn from them. Just learn from them. Don't keep trying. Don't keep thinking, oh, well, maybe if I take this player on. Oh, yeah, cool. I love Phantom's story times. You know, people say, maybe if I take this player on, you know, I can help them figure out how to be a better player. And you know, sometimes maybe you're right, but not all the time. Not all the time. Some people, I've found, and I hate to say this, cannot be taught. Alright. Huh. Oh, yeah. Yep. That's why I have a saying. Exactly. That's why I have a saying. I say, one character dies, 3 people leave. To me, that is just, it's how it happens every time. If one character dies, that person's going to leave your game, then that person's friend's going to leave the game, and then they'll eventually convince one other person from the game to leave. Because, you know, entitlement. And it was so wrong and such an injustice that their character died, regardless of the fact they boxed themselves in. You know? Again, I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah. Which, no, it doesn't. That's not how the world works. The world regularly proves that when you're stupid, you wind up getting killed. This is, you know, like the person who is looking at their phone and walks into traffic, alright? That's nobody's fault but the person. Sorry. Like the person trying to cross the freeway on foot. Their own fault. Alright? Don't be stupid. Alright? There's warning signs for a reason. Don't do these things. So, you know, I realize role-playing doesn't have warning signs, but if you make a mistake and it gets your character killed, they got 3 warnings. Then I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Because I was about to say, like, if your character gets killed, then maybe you should learn that you shouldn't do whatever you just did. Whatever you just did, that was obviously a bad idea, so never do that again. You know, that's what you should walk away from. That's what you should take away from the situation when that happens. But to get 3 warnings and still die, I've done this. I feel like I've done this. I feel like I've given someone 3 warnings before, and then they died. I don't know what to do with those people, so I just kicked them out of my game. It's just that... yeah, no, that's pure stupidity, 100%. I don't even know how to teach somebody like that, you know? And like I said, that's why I remove them from the game. I go, I don't think I can teach you. I don't think you can learn something, at least not the way I'm running games, you know, maybe you need a different type of game. You know, this might not be the one for you. Which is, I don't understand why people think that's a terrible thing, but that is not a terrible thing, because there are plenty of games that are not for me. Alright, and immediately as soon as I get in there and I start checking it out, I'm like, nope, not for me, 100%, totally not, don't like the system, don't like the way the stuff's organized, you know? Nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I don't get it either. It's like they think everything's on easy mode. It's like, dude, this isn't a video game, alright? And you can't put it on easy mode. Like, the game is on the setting that GM puts it, alright? Oh my god. Yeah, yeah. I don't get it. I do not get it. There's a lot of craziness going on between the power gaming and the entitlement and the GMs who are kind of floundering and don't know what to do. If you if you don't know how to handle players, you need to play in more games. That's literally how that works. You play as a player until you feel like you have a good enough handle on the game and people, because it's not just the game. Like, yes, it's important to know the game, it's important to know the stats, it's important to know the dice rolls, the conversions, whatever is going on in the game, it's important to know all that stuff as GM, but you also need to know people. You need to know how people are. You need to be able to profile people and see that this person's going to be a good match for your game, or this person's going to be a not good match for your game. You know, that's just literally how it is. Some people are good matches, some people aren't good matches. And I can usually tell people right away, because somebody will be like, hey, I look for combat-heavy systems, I like a lot of dice rolling. I'll be like, my game's not for you. And they'll be like, alright, thanks. No problem. That's it. Conversation over. Other times, people get really angry. Well, what do you mean the game's not for me? Well, I just mean that this game isn't combat-heavy and there's not a lot of dice rolling. So, it's literally not what you're looking for. I don't know how else to word that for you. People get upset about that for some reason. I don't know. I guess that brings me to another topic. The whole insecurity in gaming, again. You know, thinking everything's a personal attack. Everything is not a personal attack. It's just people talking. Yeah. I don't know why this keeps being a thing. But my partner asks me all the time, like, why do people get so weird? You know, like, in the gaming groups. I'm like, I don't know. Insecurity, I'm assuming, you know, because they don't want to ask questions. Probably because they don't want to seem ignorant, and it's like, that's not even why we're here, dude. Like, you need to ask questions if you're confused. It's not going to make you look stupid, it's not going to make you look foolish. You know, it's just going to help you settle into the game, you know, and you know, and I can, part of me understands, like, where the trepidation comes from, because I have met the occasional GM or DM where you ask them a question, and either A, they answer, I don't know, or B, they answer, why would you ask that question? That's really stupid. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's no reason for me to be in this game if I can't ask questions. Yeah, no, things are important. I need to ask questions, and I encourage other people to ask them too. And if my answer is I don't know, then we can figure it out right there. Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the problem. They don't ask questions, and then they die, and then they want to act entitled about it. So, you know, get over the insecurity, all right, and just ask the question. But like I said, with the trepidation with abusive GMs, like, I understand that too. That's just something you're gonna have to learn to distance yourself from, and learn that, you know, things that people say don't matter. That's really what it comes down to. The only thing that matters is what you think about you, not what other people think about you. That doesn't matter at all. It's what you think. So as long as you think you're a cool and fun person, you should be fine, you know? As long as you don't go, you know, demanding other people, you know, acknowledge that you're a cool person, because then you're probably not a cool person. Just saying. But with the insecurity, let's see what else. What else does it encourage people to do? Because they won't ask questions, and that's an issue. They won't talk to each other. Players won't talk to each other, which is weird to me. Like, especially in a cooperative freeform game where, you know, you might cross paths at some point in time, or you have a scene together at some point in time, and you have some like problem that you need to solve, and the players don't want to talk to each other, and I'm like, why is this a thing? Because if this was around a table, if this was not over, you know, Discord, if this was around a table, these players would be talking to each other and conversing and discussing like what they should say, what they should do. But like when they're online, they act like it's so weird to do that. I really don't get it. Yeah, they don't talk to the NPCs either, which, you know, like the NPCs have tons of answers, they have all the help in the world. Or they ask the NPCs the wrong questions. They ask them, like, I'll tell them the question they should ask, and then when they go to ask that question, they wind up wording it wrong, so they get the wrong answer. People really need to pay attention to, like, what they're typing and how they're wording things, because if you don't word it the way I worded it, you might have restructured the sentence to mean something else. And once again, you know, vocabulary being important, you know, words have meaning. But some of the other insecure stuff, they lie to us about their experience level. That's the biggest thing I don't understand, is lying to me that you're an experienced role player, and then within a few posts, it's clear to us you are not. You literally are not. Like, you cannot hide it. You cannot hide it from us. We've only been in this, you know, hobby for years and years and years. We know what it looks like when somebody doesn't know what they're doing, and so we will eventually gently pull this person aside, DM them, you know, directly, and be like, hey, you know, these are all the mistakes you made, this is all the stuff that you did wrong, you can fix all of it, but can I ask you a question? Is this the first time you've played in a freeform game? And it's on very rare occasions someone actually squares with me, and they're like, yeah, this is the first time I've actually played in this type of game, and usually I can't stop myself from asking, well, then why did you lie to us? You know, why did you tell us that you were experienced and you knew what you were doing when you clearly didn't? When this was clearly something you hadn't done before? Because that would have solved all problems right there. It's fine for you to not know what you're doing. It's fine for you to be new to the genre. That's how everyone gets started, and we're happy to help you, but you have to tell us. Because that's sort of like walking on a job site and saying, yeah, I totally know how to do this job, no problem, I'll set up the chain fall, no problem. Well, you go to set up the chain fall, and guess what? It all falls down and all the rigging gets fucked up, and now there's thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage on the shipyard because of you. Because you lied about something that you said you could do that you couldn't. You know, now we're just playing a game, obviously there's no lives involved, we're not actually on a shipyard, but still, lying to us, it's a major breach of trust, and most likely you're just going to wind up getting removed from the game, because if we can't trust you, then there's no reason for us to be gaming with you, because I'm here to make friends, not have people around I'm not sure about. You know, that's really the goal here, is to make friends and to meet people from different walks of life that are interesting and have fun and interesting things to say. I don't need people that I think are lying to me all the time. I just don't. That's, you know, that's a gateway to other things. It just is, if you can't be honest. So, you know, just be honest. Just do yourself a favor. Do yourself a favor, tell your GM exactly how inexperienced you are. Tell them you don't know anything, you know, we'll appreciate it. We will appreciate it. Absolutely, every time, every day. I can't stress that enough. I just can't. So, because honestly, I think if people can just be honest, yeah, that too. That's another thing we see, you know, it makes it very clear to us when you're projecting into a certain character, and you know, sometimes it can be cathartic and you can grow from it, or other times people are just projecting, and it's almost like they're trying to make, you know, the other people at the table somehow uncomfortable. I don't know what the goal is, you know, I really don't. attention seeking, maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. It can. It can. It's I've had many people tell me many things about players and their characters and how it makes them uncomfortable. But yes, that's definitely one of the things that makes people uncomfortable, is when they think that the person and the character are just a little too similar, you know, and there's like bad signs going on, you know. Again, you know, I prefer to have people I can be friends with, people I can trust, not people I have to be leery about. You know, even if it's just online, you know, I don't want to worry about what that person's doing. But yeah, that's pretty much all our topics. Pretty much covered everything that we had written down for the day. So, not bad. Not bad. We'll have to put together some more stuff and figure out what we focus on next time. And I'm sure we'll reiterate something, because we always wind up reiterating 1 or 2 points pretty much every time. I think we talk about insecurity every time. I think we talk about power gaming every time. And now we'll probably talk about entitlement every time, just because it's just a thing. I don't know why. I don't know why it's so rampant. You would think that storytelling wouldn't be so rampant, because we're here to tell a story, play a role, learn a lesson, right? That's what we're here for. Not everyone. Not everyone. Some people are just here to swing a sword, or complain, or, I don't know, ruin everyone else's fun. I have no idea. Is it troll gamers, I'm assuming? You know, I can only guess. Because when everyone really just wants to have a good time, everyone is really friendly. Everyone is talking to everyone. You know, nobody's like snubbing anyone. No one's not listening to anyone. Everyone's being heard. Everyone gets to say what's on their mind. Everyone gets to make a decision at some point in the time of the game. You know, that's how a cohesive group works. You know, there's a lot of trading, there's a lot of swapping, there's a lot of discussing and thinking about, well, what's the best way of going about this. You know, especially when you're in a party scenario. So, yeah, I don't understand why the entitlement is such a thing. So hopefully we can make people more aware of it. That, you know, it's hard to run a game when you keep acting like it's all for you. It's not how it is, not unless you're paying that GM. It's just not. So hopefully that'll be less of a thing. Hopefully the power gaming, you know, people will start to see it in a different light, you know, not that it's just something to be tolerated, but or something to force on other people, but a play style for a select few, you know, that the rest of us actually want to roleplay, you know. So the power gaming means very little to us. The metagaming means very little to us. It actually just annoys us, because we're trying to have fun. You know, being told how to play our characters, nobody likes it. So, hopefully people become more aware and steer away from these things. But, you know, we'll keep running our games, we'll keep meeting new people, and I'm sure we'll keep having new experiences and new things to share with you guys. So, I'm going to see about having 2 sessions of this a week, start having RP101 on Fridays, most likely like noon, and but also Mondays at noon. It was just today was a day late and a little earlier because you know, my scheduling got all messed up. But hopefully I can get back on a routine, and we'll be able to have a talk twice a week and get people, you know, discussing all this interesting stuff. Alright guys, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.